we're going to go ahead and get started. It's 4 p.m. with the Senior Center Commission meeting of Thursday, March 17th. It is 4 o'clock, so we'll start. And Latasha's not here with us. We've got Michelle Buman, right? Yeah, okay. I read your name a lot, and I don't think I've ever said it. So here with us.
Very good for the first time.
Awesome.
That's rare, actually. I appreciate it.
And so we're just going to go ahead and get started. You'll notice that I put out signs with everybody's names, and I tried to remember where everybody sat last time and just stick them in the right spot. So feel free to move. You're not stuck with these places, but I just kind of tried to remember and stuck them out for you. I'm very bad with names, so I just assume everyone is. And it helps me, it helps everybody. If we want to go down the line and just kind of say our name, that's usually how we start.
I know you from upstairs when I played Mahjong all the time. Yeah.
Yes.
Anyway, we moved to Iowa City 10 years ago, and my husband and I retired, and I've been a member of the Senior Center since then, and I thought I could maybe give back a little bit by being on the commission, so this is my first meeting.
Well, welcome, and thank you for joining.
I'm Jeannie Beckman, and it'll be a year in May that I've been on the Senior Center. I actually took someone else's place that had to drop off or something, so yeah. And actually also working just as a PRN with the VNA. That was my big interest in doing this, since we have the presence here on certain days and things like that, so.
I'm Linda, and I've been on as long as Angela, and we're not sure if that's 2 years or 3.
I think we both filled a vacancy, so maybe it's a little over 2.
Right before COVID.
Yes, right before
That's how
COVID.
we found it. And I enjoyed the center a whole bunch, and then COVID hit, and one of the other guys and I had an exhibit up and got it out of here 2 weeks before they shut us down, or we would have never gotten our stuff back for 18 months.
Oh, no.
So we enjoy it.
Well, thanks. I'm Angela McConville. I'm actually the county representative on the Senior Center Commission, and this is I'm just starting my second term, I guess, this year, so that's me. I live in Oxford. Paula?
All right. I'm Paula Vaughn. I think this is my second year. I have 1 year left on the board, so.
I'm Susan Carroll. This is my second meeting. I have done dancing classes and things here, and I'm ending my term on the Library Board of Directors. So this is like switching from one city thing to another.
Well, welcome. Then you're familiar with how these meetings go, and maybe ours is a little more informal.
Ours are pretty informal,
Okay.
but ours have only been on Zoom. We
Okay.
haven't gone back to permanently in person.
All right. And our last person just walked in. So we're just doing quick introductions. I think this is your first, kind of just letting us know how many meetings you've been to, and a welcome.
Have I introduced myself? My name is Doug Cordy. I guess this is my first time.
Well, welcome. So after introductions, we just go ahead to move on to the minutes. So the minutes were sent to us in the agenda packet of our last meeting, which was January 20th. So I will accept a motion to approve the minutes.
I motion that we approve them. I read them, and they were fine.
Yeah.
For what I remembered.
Does anybody have any edits that they would like to make, or no? Okay. Motion to second.
Second.
Awesome, by Carol. And if everybody approves, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Anybody does not approve? Say nay. Okay, there we go. Moving on to public discussion for items not on the agenda. This is where we allow the members of the public who are sitting in the audience to make comments to us and ask questions. We can't have necessarily an open discussion about the item that all of these people might bring up, but it's on the agenda in case we do have public members. And we don't have anybody in our audience today, so we'll just go ahead and move on. Number 4 is something we've hem and hawed over since December, but we really got to get it done. So nomination for chair, vice chair, and secretary. So This is the election of officers to the executive committee as described in the commission bylaws emailed to you last month. Officer terms run 1 calendar year, so January to December. The nominating committee is comprised of persons whose terms expired in December, which was me, Linda, and Zach, whose term had ended in December. So we have the ballots in front of us. You're welcome to flip it over and take a look. To vote on the ballot, members must put an X by the name of the candidate they want for particular office. I left a space for nominees from the floor, so I will kind of explain how the nominating process works in just a second. If there are candidates nominated from the floor, so during this meeting, you'll go ahead and write their name underneath on the line. Any questions on how to mark your ballot when we get ready to vote? It's just basically putting an X next to the name you would like to select. If there are no questions, I'm going to go forward to explain kind of nominations. So I will first read the report from the nominating committee, and then I will take nominations from the floor. So that's from you in this moment. And after the nominations, we'll go ahead and vote. So the nominating committee has nominated the following as written on the ballots. So the nominee for chairperson is Angela McConville, which is me. I would just be continuing on as chair. The nominee from the nominating committee for vice chairperson is Linda Vogel. And the nominee from the nominating committee for secretary is Jeannie Beckman. I will now entertain any further nominations for chairperson at this time. Does anybody would like to nominate someone for chair other than myself, who is written on the ballot? Hearing none, nominations are closed for chairperson. Are there any further nominations for vice chairperson? So we have Linda on the list right now. Does anybody else want to nominate someone for vice chairperson and add their name to the list? All right, hearing none, nominations are closed for vice chairperson. Are there further nominations for secretary? So we currently have Jeannie Beckman on the list for secretary. I would entertain any other names if anybody would like to nominate themselves or someone else for secretary. Okay, hearing none, nominations are closed for secretary. So this will be a very easy vote. So go ahead and take a moment to vote. Put an X by the name of the person who you would like to select. And Kristen's going to come around and collect and then make the announcements of who is the winners. And that is how we do it here on the Senior Center Commission. Does anybody have any questions, or has everybody voted who would like to vote? Making sure everybody.
Count.
I know. It's like, okay, so the polls are now closed. I have to say that, Robert's rules.
Do you have any questions from the audience? Aren't you supposed to ask that?
Yes, any questions? Kristen will count the ballots. We will just give her a few minutes. Normally, if this was quite a complicated ballot, we would recess the meeting, take a moment, come back. She would make the announcements, but I'm pretty sure.
All right.
All right,
so
Kristen.
for chairperson, Angela has been accepted as the chair for the next year, 7-0. Vice chair, Linda passes 6 with 1 abstention. And Jeannie passes with 7 for secretary.
Excellent. So winners will immediately resume office responsibilities through December 2022. So thank you for volunteering to do that. Now we're done with that. Oh my goodness. We've gotten through it. We can get rid of that till next year. So agenda item number 5 is operational overview. So this is usually where Latasha kind of gives us the rundown of programming updates and building updates. So Michelle, if you want to go ahead and take over.
Sure, thanks. It's been a really long time since I've been at one of these meetings, so I don't know what Latasha usually talks about. So I'm just going to tell you what I know. As far as programming goes, that's been building up. We're still doing about 50% of our programs online and 50% in person because there's still a little bit of hesitancy coming in and that sort of thing. And I think moving forward, we'll still have a percentage of our classes be offered online for those who can't make it in person. So those classes have been pretty good. I've been working to engage more instructors and bring more activities in, but it's like I'm rebuilding all of our programs with the 2 years of uncertainty, and there's still that uncertainty, in the future about where the virus will be. And so we're I'm hoping by fall we'll be able to see a more robust program, but I think people are really happy with the programs that we have been offering. So we're still going to do a 2-month program schedule as opposed to the way we did it pre-COVID where it was 4 months at a time. This 2-month program schedule has allowed me and the rest of the staff more flexibility in working with potential instructors because we can get them engaged a little bit faster. I don't have to ask someone 6 months in advance to nail down a class schedule. So that's been really nice. It's allowed us to use some of our student volunteers and interns to produce some programs during their semester. So I'm hoping that we'll go with it, but of course, as all things change, this may change back to something else again, depending on budget constraints and what our members want. And I think the member feedback has been very positive with the smaller program guide and schedule. So always happy to hear feedback from you all, of course, in regards to that. I learned that the City Council is going to look at the Senior Center Master Plan on April 5th. So that's coming up. I talked with the parking department, and the contract for repair work in the parking ramp has gone out to bid. It went out 2 weeks ago. They still have another week for it to be out to bid. Then it takes a couple weeks to award a contract. And then it'll take some time to get the supplies because we all know there's a supply chain issue. But it is hopeful that it's out for bid now. And that is the beginning, that work is slated at the beginning of a larger contract that, so that'll be prioritized. So I'm hoping by fall it'll be all done. But there's other work besides the repair work that is involved in that parking ramp that'll happen. And we know that, like I said, the supply chain issues. We're getting a couple new treadmills in the exercise room. We have one treadmill that we purchased in 2010 and one that we don't know how old it is because it's older than 2010, and it had some work that needed to be done in so far as replacing the deck and the tread on that. So instead of paying for it to be replaced, we had budgeted this year for replacement, and then Friends of the Center has stepped up to cover the cost of the second treadmill. The third treadmill also has need of a new tread and deck, but it just had a new motherboard put in to it, and it was from 2016. So we're just going to repair that and hope that that carries us along. So I'm working on, with the help of Kristen always, on getting some estimates and finding things that will fit that space. So some of the criteria that I'm looking for is something that has a low step up, good handrails, easy to use so it's not too complicated, basic safety features. So that will be purchased within this budget year. And then we also have a grant from the Community Foundation of Johnson County to purchase some new AV equipment to provide our hybrid programs. So we would be able to have an instructor come in and do a program, have a live audience, but also have that streamed over the internet. So people are traveling, don't want to drive downtown, or just homebound, or they can tune into that and watch it live. So worked with Emily Edrington and Brad Mowry, who is both on staff here, about kind of putting that together. And then we had a meeting with purchasing and the facility people in that last week to kind of talk about the scope of the project. And they're going to send us some resources for contacting to have some specialists come in and make sure that we're getting the right technology. This is not a huge amount of money. The grant was about $9,000, so it's not one of those we're redoing a whole room kind of thing. But we're inching forward, and I'm hoping that the community will see some of these upgrades as we're approaching the remodeling phase when we're going to be doing some more fundraising. So speaking of fundraising, Jesse Simon, our development specialist, just put out our spring appeal letter. No, yes. What month are we? Spring appeal letter. Oh my goodness. So that's through Friends of the Center, and so that might be coming out, and that's kind of just, we do one in the spring and one in the fall. Last year we did an extra one because of our 40th anniversary. We will, as far as I know, like I said, things can change. We are just going to do one in the spring and one in the fall instead of that extra one. So I don't know. That's what I have. Oh, we did do a mailing to our members and anyone that we had on our mailing list to get information, and I'm going to hand that description of all of that work to the person who did it, which is Kristen, if you want to update folks on that.
Yep, so basically we've had our current database for about 10 years. And so of course over that time there's lots of folks in that system who have maybe moved or no longer wish to receive, our program guide anymore. And during COVID, we cut back on who we were sending that program guide out to, just members. So now that we're back in the building, want to sort of up that offering to folks who might be potential members, right? So we decided to do a couple of different letters, one that went just to people who are currently members, and then one that is to people who either they were previously a member and aren't currently, or they had indicated in the past that they wanted to receive our program guide. So twofold, we get the information back that if they really want to receive that, and if so, how they would like to receive that. So either mailed to them, emailed to them, pick it up here, or they're not interested. And then we wanted to take that opportunity, since we were going to go ahead and spend the money on sending out a mass mailing like that, to collect some up-to-date demographic information for folks. Optional, of course, as always, for demographic information, but looking at a couple of different things that we have not collected before. So primary language spoken in someone's home. There's a big push for us to do translation services, and so we just want to kind of see if we're missing, a population by which languages we want to translate for the program guide, and then also income level of households, if people are comfortable sharing that, basically so that we can see if our low-income membership program is, are we serving the community in that regard? So as many as folks might know, we do have a low-income discount membership for anybody. Doesn't matter where they live. It's $10 for the year, or if that needs to be waived, $0. But as we know, that might not necessarily, the people who are taking advantage of that might not necessarily, help me out with the verbiage here.
So it's probably underrepresenting the actual number, because there are a lot of lower income folks who are paying full price.
Yep.
So we wanted to get a clearer picture of the income, but it doesn't go up past it doesn't go very high. So we don't care if you make $1 million a year. We really just want to kind of get an idea of that lower range.
Yep. Thank you for pop it in there. Lost my train. But anywho, we're starting to get those demographics and letters back from folks, and so it's great to get updated data, and it will also help us sort of pare down our ActiveNet database for, if we don't hear back from people, then we can get them out of the system. So anyways, it's a pretty big project that the front desk staff is helping out with a lot, and be great when we get all those back.
And the returns are really coming in, so people are taking time,
Yeah.
which says a lot about our population, that they care about the senior center, and when we ask them surveys or these kinds of demographics, that they do take the time to send it back or drop it off because they want to save us that return stamp. That happens a lot.
Awesome.
So, any questions about the building or programming or?
Michelle, I have a question. The hybrid equipment that you were talking about, will that serve just like by the classroom? Is it one classroom? Is it several classrooms that can?
We're focusing on just one classroom right now because we do have limited funds, and because the master plan has some designs of changing some different areas, we wanted to focus on the room that is not changing so we can make those updates. And then we'll have other equipment that we could, like, if we wanted to do something down here, we could bring in cameras and have that. And we could work with cable TV to do that. We've actually done that in the past in this space. But this room will have that kind of permanent setup in which we can optimize that viewing, and then it can be recorded and put online later as well. And it'll be a nice, high quality production. And it's really the natural evolution of what used to be senior center television, where we had videotapes that would go to cable and that they would put that on the cable network. And everything's changing with cable. Not everybody has cable. They might have a dish or an antenna, or just not even have, they've cut the cord completely. And so people are getting their information in a different way. So utilizing YouTube makes a lot more sense for us now. So we've kind of transitioned to senior center technology and video, and that's the way we're envisioning the future for that. But it also allows people, if using Zoom, to tune in, and it can be more interactive, right? Because they can post questions in the chat if they want to ask something of the instructor, whereas it was pretty passive the way you would just watch it and prior. So it'll help it be a little bit more interactive. And we've also, I forgot to mention, purchased a camera that's called an owl, and it would sit in the middle of the room, and it can capture people at home or in a space. If you're all shaking your head. She might have already announced this months ago, but that's a part of that funding. And we haven't actually implemented that as much yet because just the transition to our programs hasn't had that need, but I can see that being a benefit in the future.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Yep.
I love the added accessibility, so people who are homebound can actually participate in the classes.
That reminds me of something else I forgot to mention. I'm On is one of the new cable providers in town, right? It's a cable provider. They've invited us to a March Gladness competition. So get on Facebook and look up I'm On and vote for Friends of the Center. We're in the first round. So there's 8 different nonprofit organizations that they selected, and you can vote for 4, and then we can advance to the next round. The opportunity, and you can vote multiple times.
I wondered about that because I got it in the mail and I might have done that.
Keep voting, keep voting. If we win, we get $1,000. That'll go to Friends of the Center. If we come in second place, we get $500.
Nice.
But we are up against some pretty tough nonprofit competition with the Humane Society. Yep, it's our first competition.
Wow, that's a big one.
But it was great to be invited, and it'll help get the Friends of the Center out to people who might not know that that's a charitable donation to the center, and so it's good publicity either way. So,
Awesome.
Anyway, I'm sorry I forgot. I just remembered that this minute.
And another survey that I noticed was the City of Iowa City is redoing their website. So if you have any feedback about that, they're taking surveys from that right now. You can find that on their webpage.
Definitely look at the senior center's webpage in particular and things that we can improve on as they do that reconfiguration. So you can hopefully find things that you're looking for easier.
Yep. Awesome. Any questions for Michelle? All right, we'll go ahead and move on to agenda item number 6, commission discussion. We have a couple senior center policies on the agenda today to go over and approve. The first is budget revenue expenses policy. Let me just pull that up really quick. Previously named fees and revenue policy. So a few things were added. The last time we went through and approved a bunch of policies like this, Latasha kind of just ran over quickly, just the things that have changed. But if you're not prepared for that, this was in the agenda packet and we were able to read it if you would like to just go ahead for a vote today.
Thought it was fine. I didn't bring mine.
Yeah,
I didn't see anything.
me neither. So for the first one, budget revenue and expenses, does anybody have any recommended edits or changes or concerns? All right, so I will then put this up for a vote to approve the budget revenue and expenses policy. I'll take a motion.
I gave a motion.
I was going to say,
You'll do it.
make a motion.
And a second?
I'll second.
There you go.
Karen will.
So motion by Jeannie, second by Linda to approve budget revenue and expenses. If you agree and approve, say aye.
Aye.
Anybody say nay? All right, then that one passes. The next policy is a new policy. It's the reporting policy. Do you guys have any comments about why this one was created or any additional information we should know or the public should know?
I guess the bottom line is we have these policies and now we're working on creating procedures. So if I were to step out of my position, someone can step in and they can grab some procedures and know what to do. And we're finding gaps where we may have missed. We have a procedure for something that doesn't fit a policy. So we created the policy to fit the procedure, pretty much. Does that make sense?
Yep, and many procedures under this one, so it's like, okay, we need a little structure.
We just want to make sure that when we get together the final document of our policies and procedures, that they're connected together. And so this is serving that purpose.
And this goes through the city attorney's office.
Yes.
Correct, yeah. So, smarter eyes have been on this than me. So.
They've looked at it and
Yep.
now you are.
Now we're looking at it. So does anybody have any comments or changes or concerns with the reporting policy as written in our commission packet? All right, if nobody has any concerns, I will take a motion to approve the reporting policy. Does anybody want to motion?
So move.
Oh, Paula. Anybody want a second?
I'll second.
All right, moved by Paula and seconded by Linda to approve the reporting policy. If you approve, say aye.
Aye.
Anybody not approve, say nay. All right, it passes. Thank you. That was easy. Okay, scrolling back on up. The next agenda item down is Commissioner's Report of Community Correspondence. If you remember, we added this to the agenda for anybody who wants to report on something that they heard from a community member or something that they did in the community that they wanted to let us know about. As a reminder, you cannot have a conversation about anything that you've brought up under this agenda item because it's not specifically written out in the agenda, but you can make announcements. So does anybody have anything that they'd like to report?
Is it appropriate to talk to you about the Public Works?
You can make an announcement of an event that's coming up that you're working on.
I hope I have the date right on this. Iowa City Public Works has the new building out on Gilbert. May 21st, there is a huge event coming up. It's all free except for the food. Everything else is free. It's going to, I think we're going to start it at think it starts at 10 in the morning. It might be a little bit earlier, but it lasts all day long. There's going to be a lot of things for kids, a lot of free things, a lot of activities. We think the roller rink is going to be put in at the end of the building. This building is, we think, for Julie, was that it's more green than what the art museum is going to be. It's a phenomenal place. We went in there and looked at it, and the truck, it's like 3 or 4 football fields long. I don't know if you've seen it or not. And it's like, this is where all the trucks are. Now we know where they stay. But anyway, we have a group that's called the Quilt Guild. They've asked us. Julie Johnson's involved in it. And some of you may have already seen some of the pictures, but a lot of the quilts are going to be displayed on equipment, on heavy equipment, and it really looks cool. We took Julie's out and got her pictures, and there's going to be some hanging from the rafters and all this stuff. And then that night, I don't know the name of the group exactly, but it's the Iowa City Arts group. Something like that. It's whoever, she's on that one too. But anyway, they're going to bring food trucks in, and then they're going to have a free showing of Field of Dreams. But that'll be like at dark. But anyway, it's going to be a huge event. They want everybody there. I'm going to bring some stuff in on it. I just didn't bring my bulletins with me. And there's going to be a raffle for 2 quilts that will absolutely blow your mind.
Nice.
I looked at them, and it's like, who on earth just spent 1 million hours putting that one together? They're just gorgeous. And Julie's Johnson, if you know her, is really hyped up on this.
Awesome.
So it'll be a good event.
Thank you, Lynn. Does anybody else have any announcements they'd like to make? Something I would like to put on the agenda for next time, which is the next agenda item down, is we had discussed last year doing some sort of outdoor music party, and I know that never really kind of I mean, the pandemic has just put a damper on everything, but it'd be kind of interesting for us to maybe champion a community event like that again, or at least throw the idea out there. Somebody had brought up reggae music and doing kind of more of a diversity event, which I would love to see. So maybe we could talk about that next time. Does anybody else have any future agenda items? Or, oh, okay, Doug.
Yeah, I have emailed about this. I'm interested in I don't have any specific suggestions, but I'm interested in what the senior center could do about seniors who are low income in Iowa City or in the area that Senior Center serves. I wrote an article a few years ago about single elders who were low income, because it came to my attention that when an elder loses a spouse, their income goes down, but their expenses only usually go down approximately 30%, and that frequently throws a person into poverty. And there's not a lot they can do other than get a roommate or get a relative to take them in or come and live with them. But there's a lot of aspects to elder poverty. As people get older, they're more likely to be in poverty. If they live alone, they're more likely to be in poverty. The real value of Social Security has declined 30% over the last 20 years, and most people don't know that. There's very little research on elder poverty. I've been trying to find it, and there's no books on it. Zero. You go to Amazon and put in quotes elder poverty, nothing comes up. You go to Wikipedia, try to find something on elder poverty. Nothing, absolutely nothing.
That's interesting.
So I think it's an interesting thing. I think the first thing I'd like to see the Senior Center do is to try to find out how much elder poverty there is in Iowa City and do some research on it. And I'd be happy to participate in that. But the other thing is to try to get an idea of what the Senior Center could do about it. Now, that's not something that Senior Center usually does, but I think it's something that we could try to do something about. And I'd leave it open to other people to participate in.
All right. Well, we can't have a discussion on that today, but
That's what I'm trying to put on
I
the
am-
agenda next week. or
I
next
know
month.
there are experts on some of that stuff here in this room. I know I work with a transportation assistance program that serves mostly seniors, so that's a very interesting topic to
There
bring
are
up.
other organizations in Iowa City that are involved in this. I know some of these people, and I know there are other people who are working on it. And of course, the government has programs. It's been my experience that sometimes people who live in poverty don't know about things that are available to them, even like SNAP. I've met people who live in poverty who don't know they can get food stamps. So there are a lot of things you can do, and any organization can get involved in those things.
All right. Well, we'll talk about that next time. So bring questions. If there's someone you want to come talk about the programs that they provide, we'll welcome a speaker
Did you see the
too.
movie Nomad?
Yep.
That's a very interesting movie, and companies like Amazon really take advantage of people. I mean, they pay them very low wages, no benefits, and long hours, and a lot of these people are elderly people.
All right.
And it isn't just Amazon. It's a lot of other companies as well.
I have an idea of somebody to come talk next time. I'll just send it to you.
Okay. Sounds good.
I don't know if you read the article in the New York Times about truck drivers.
Yep.
Did anybody see that? 90% turnover in long haul truck driving.
Yep.
It's because the conditions are so terrible, and the wages are bad. When I was growing up, truck drivers made good wages because they had a union. They had the Teamsters union. I'll tell you a funny story. I spoke against the Vietnam War once in Palo Alto, and one of the other speakers was the head of the California Teamsters. And after the speeches, he took me aside and he said, "You want to work for the Teamsters? You want to be an organizer for the Teamsters?" And I said, "Well, what's it like? What do you do?" He said, "You go into a company and go to the president of the company and you say, 'You want to have trucks coming in here? You want to have trucks coming in and out of here? Because if you do, you have to sign a contract for the Teamsters.'" And I said, "That doesn't sound like organizing to me."
Oh, no.
But that's what the Teamsters did. The Teamsters were a very effective union. They weren't
Strong.
always ethical, but they were extremely effective. And I didn't take the job, but they were one of the most effective unions in the country. But they got crushed. They got completely crushed.
Well, all I'm going to say is autonomous vehicles. Anyways, let's move on. Does anybody else have any future agenda items? So we'll definitely talk about that next time.
Great.
For sure. That's an interesting topic. Anybody else? Nobody else? I'm hearing no comments. Any wrapping anything up? All right. Then I'm going to go ahead and adjourn, and this is our quickest meeting. Sorry, I know this is your first one, and your second, and we're out in 38 minutes, so it's 4:38. Adjourned.